Welcome to the show. So excited. We're here with one of my favorite people I got to meet in London a couple, was it 2 years ago? Close to that.
It was 2 years ago, yeah.
But she is such a delight, and I can't wait to introduce you guys to her. But hey, as you're coming into the show today, we would love for you guys to sprinkle this out across the socials. This is, we're trying to get this podcast off the ground and the show. We would love it if you would do that. And also, we're going to be talking all about Twitter Spaces today. And if you know somebody who, like, this would be something that they are really into, feel free to mention them down below, call them into the conversation, even if it's the replay. We would love to talk with them. And as we're going along, if you have comments or questions or threats against Eric and his well-being, feel free to drop that down into the comments, and we would love to pull those up during the show today because it's going to be a fun show. We're going to get started in just a second, but May, how's the weather where you're at across the pond, as they say?
So it's a glorious day today in sunny Sheffield, which is the north of England, and we're just coming out of the winter and looking forward to the spring. So it's a beautiful day out.
Awesome. So what we're going to do is we're going to start the show and hit go on the podcast machine. We'll just jump right into it. And if you, like I said, if you guys have questions, just ping us in the comments and we will try to bring that on the screen. All right, here we go. Welcome to Social Media News Live. I'm Jeff C., and you're not. And this is the show where we keep you up to date on what's happening in the world of social media. Now, I want to quickly introduce my amazing, incredible co-host today, the incredible Mr. Fisher. Don't make him angry. Whatever you do, you wouldn't like him when he's angry. But anyway, he is the amazing guy who does the Beyond the To-Do List podcast. He's a producer and host. It's been going along for about 8 years, and he talks with experts on how to implement productivity and strategies in people's professional and personal lives. He's also the director of the social media education for Agora Pulse, where he heads up the social media manager school. Eric, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we have some great webinars coming up all month long. Check those out at socialmediamanagerschool.com. Also, don't make the mistake of missing out on the Instagram edition of the Social Pulse Summit that Agora Pulse just did. You can find that at summit.agorapulse.com. It just happened live, but all the replays are still there, so don't miss out.
Awesome. By the way, I want to let you guys know that this show is brought to you by my friends over at Ecamm. If you're wondering how in the world we're doing all this cool stuff, like blowing up those lower thirds, these moving backgrounds, these camera angles, all that stuff, it is by Ecamm. So if you're interested in finding out more about this incredible program for the Mac, make sure you go to socialmedianewslive.com/Ecamm. That's socialmedianewslive.com/Ecamm. That's ECAMM. Now, I'm very excited to introduce my host, my guest for today. She could host it if she wanted to because she's amazing. We are joined today by MAYKING, and we're going to talk about Twitter Spaces. We're also going to be exploring possible new revenue models and how to banter like a brand on Twitter. But if you don't know who MAYKING is, she is the founder of Making Tea and is a keynote speaker. She's a social media correspondent, professional live tweeter, and FOMO creator for conferences, workshops, and festivals. And she bridges the gap between social media plus PR for your next conference, your challenge, your product or service launch. She is a live tweeter available for hire. And May, I'm so excited you're here today. I really am.
And I'd be even more excited if you get my bloody name right. It's MAYKING.
Making. So MAYKING. She's always given me a hard time about this ever since I've met her, but MAYKING, I will do it. Before we get in the show, can you tell us what is a live tweeter for hire? I mean, tell exactly what you do at events and conferences, because I really want to know, and people to know.
Yeah, so I listen to a conference and I record it, I report it live. So at webinars that run, I can do on average 50 tweets an hour. I've done day conferences where in person, when we were allowed to go out and play, and I average about 1,200 tweets. So it helps to give publicity for my clients. It helps to get the conversations going and gets real people, creates that FOMO for our clients. Yeah, so not just on Twitter, I also do it on Instagram, and I go on Facebook Live as well, and work my magic for my clients to create that buzz, create that content for the lurkers, with the intention that those lurkers think, oh my God, I'm missing out. I've got to book on, I've got to buy the ticket, I've got to buy the book, buy the service. That's basically what I do.
Awesome. So I got to bring up my friend Ian Anderson Gray, who we hung out with, and he goes, "I think MAYKING is part machine the way she tweets." So he thinks you may be a cyborg, but we'll let that go for now. So, but yeah, but what I want to know, May, is how are you doing, since these large scale in-person events aren't really happening? What are you doing? Because I know that's your big business. So how are you doing a lot of virtual events? What are you doing kind of to fill that gap?
I'm doing a lot of virtual events. So ERIK talks about the fabulous Social Pulse Summit. I tweeted and created LinkedIn posts for the LinkedIn edition of the Social Pulse Summit on Agora Pulse, and engaged with people. I've also been doing a lot of interviews with business owners as well. And because I've got a bit of a following across all the socials, the videos are given to my clients so that they can put it on their website, put it on their platforms, but I also put it onto my social media platforms as well, just to give them a little bit more publicity. So interviewing business owners, doing virtual conferences, and there's been a lot of digital challenges as well. So we want to get people into the challenge. So I've been helping to create FOMO for that. The interviews been repurposed into Facebook ads or Instagram ads. And then I've actually been cheering with pom-poms during the digital challenge, and just getting people motivated and excited about the challenge, so that then if they see a lot of value in the challenge, then hopefully they will buy. So I've been hired to be the chief pom-pom shaker with Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups during a challenge as well. So that's what's been keeping me busy.
Awesome, man. Well, that's great. So I want to bring up some more comments. Grace, our friend Grace, says she is MAYKING is the reigning social media marketing world tweeting champion. How many years is it that you've done that? Like, it's been I don't know, for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, so it's since 2018. So I think that was my first Twitter experience at Social Media Marketing World, and I was third, and I'm very competitive. So I came back, I thought, I've got to be number one. And so I was number one in 2019 and also 2020 as well. In 2020, that was my last international gig before lockdown. I was hired by someone to tweet on their behalf as well, and I managed to get my client on the leaderboard as well as myself. So yeah,
very cool. Well, so you're the nickname that Grace has given you is very, very true. She MAYKING is the queen of Twitter. So very cool.
Stop it.
You've got some fans. So ERIK, why don't you break us down this first piece of news? We're going to be talking on this first segment about this, everyone's talking about, audio, the new audio kind of social stuff, and Twitter Spaces is coming right behind Clubhouse. So break down the news on Twitter Spaces, because it's all at Twitter, everywhere on Twitter.
Yeah. So the news here is, and what's interesting to me is Clubhouse has been around for almost a year, but really in limited, capacity until the hype started to surround it back in, late last year. But what's funny is I had heard of Twitter Spaces coming for a while, even before I'd ever heard of Clubhouse. And so now Twitter Spaces is starting to actually make its it's almost like it's I know Twitter is, all about birds and tweeting, but to me, Twitter Spaces is kind of like the shark fin starting to finally come out of the water. And Clubhouse is dominating that social audio space, but even and again, even Facebook, who copies everything they can get their hands on or see, is trying to make a Clubhouse copycat. Twitter was working on one for months now, and we are starting to see it now in a limited beta. They're showing, a number of advantages and things that they're perfecting that Clubhouse users have had issues with. So, with Twitter Spaces in limited beta, it's expanding to more users recently. Even last night, I saw that, I don't know that this is official, but I saw it on Twitter from somebody on Android saying they had it on Android. So, there you go. But my question, MAYKING, is, I know you're a Clubhouse user. Have you had a chance to check out Twitter Spaces? And if so, talk to us a bit about how it is, what it is and how it works.
Yeah, so I love Twitter Spaces. Oh my goodness, I love it. Like Eric said, I have been using Clubhouse for a while. And when a new platform comes along, I tend to ignore it because I'm not a follower of fashion, but one of my friends asked me to go on it and said, you should really look at it. So I did have a look at Clubhouse, made the classic mistake of leaving my mic on, and the whole world was understanding about what I was having for lunch with my partner that day, which was hilarious. But with Twitter Spaces, it is so much easier to use, so much easier, and there's a lot more added functionality. So I think, and also what I've experienced in Clubhouse, which a few people warned me about, is that there's a lot of willy waving and peacocking going around, a lot of egos, and a lot of there are some, unfortunately, you'll get them everywhere with new platforms, a lot of spammers and marketers, and claiming to be experts and say, you should come to me, and we can help you get that 6-7 figure business and all that stuff, all that rubbish stuff. What I've found in Twitter Spaces is that there's really a lot of meaningful, great conversations that is happening. And what I saw from a tweet was that Clubhouse is more of a platform, enabling you to get onto the virtual stage and talk, whereas Twitter Spaces is more of a round table. There's a lot of intimacy, a lot of great conversations that are had. You've got the opportunity to speak or listen, which you have on Clubhouse, but the audio is way better. It's much better on Spaces than Clubhouse. And what I love about Twitter is that I could actually tweet whilst I'm on Spaces. When I'm on Clubhouse, I sometimes will tweet from my computer. And because I've forgot to hit the mute button, people are saying, MAYKING, shut up! You're on we can hear you tweeting. And I don't have that problem on Twitter Spaces. So I just feel that there's definitely a community, and you can express yourself in a few ways in the way of emojis on Clubhouse. On Twitter Spaces. On Clubhouse, if you don't know the jargon, there's a few things that happen which you might be thinking, that's a bit weird, or there's limited functionality. But with Twitter Spaces, it's just a lot easier to use, and I haven't experienced the peacocking and willy waving yet because people are genuinely wanting to help each other. So I love Twitter Spaces. I absolutely love it.
Now we need a T-shirt that says "No peacocking or willy waving." So that's important. I think we're gonna have to add those to the cart. So some people are chiming in, like they're using both Clubhouse and Spaces. Love Spaces simplicity. And then Grace said, and this is a great question, where would you find Spaces in Twitter? She saw Matt Navarro went live on Spaces last week. How would you join in? So where would you find it? Like if you're wanting to know if you have the functionality or want to join one, where do you look for it on Twitter? Can you do it on desktop, mobile? Kind of break it down a little bit that way.
I believe it's mobile only, and it's where you can see your fleet. So remember the stories that people kind of done it on Instagram, and kind of Twitter just hasn't had the same impact. But when you see the stories up at the top, people who are in purple, it means that they've got a space that they're currently live on Spaces. So definitely check it out there. You can check out to see whether you've got Spaces. It is in beta mode, as Eric said. So when you compose a tweet, you can have a look to see if you've got access to it. I know it's limited at the moment, but they're rolling out to a lot more people. And what people have also done as well with the people who are in beta mode, they've actually put a purple dot as part of their Twitter name at the start, just to show you that they are beta testing Twitter Spaces. So follow those guys, and they'll let you know when they are on live as well. So fleets, check out the people with the purple dots as well.
Awesome. Very, very cool. So I guess one of the major advantages, and I'm seeing a lot of comments over here, that is that Twitter Space, you don't have to start over with a new community like you've had to do with Clubhouse, is that you can actually, most people already, a lot of us anyway, have a community that we've already built up on Twitter. So, and everybody's kind of familiar with Twitter. Will Twitter Spaces give what they're calling social audio mainstream appeal? I mean, we got the FOMO going on, which is your thing on Clubhouse, but do you think it's going to give it, mainstream appeal? Like, oh, Twitter's doing it, I'm going to jump in now.
Yeah, I mean, audio has definitely been absolutely huge. I mean, a lot of us have got the, Alexa or Google Home, so it's going nowhere, audio. And I think it's, when the pandemic hit, people went to Zoom, but there were also a lot of people who were worried about video, and they hadn't washed their hair, or they were still in their PJs and all the rest of it. So having Twitter Spaces is just, it's very, it's just a nice way of reconnecting with the community without the pressure of going on video. And like you say, you don't have to be invited. You can listen in. Clubhouse, you had to wait until you're invited to get onto Clubhouse, and so it has generated that FOMO. But as I say, a lot of business owners do tend to use Twitter for the business aspects as well as the social aspects. So you've already got a community, you've already got people who are following you, and so you can let them know when you're going live or when you're tuning in, and really support each other. And because it's still in beta mode at the moment, there is this massive support. I've only been in a very short time, and I've already seen people supporting each other when they're going live, and it's very easy to report any issues you may have had. But from what I've seen so far, I haven't had any issues with audio at all, and I'm absolutely loving the functionality. You can also create a transcript as well, live, which is pretty awesome. Yeah. So that's something that you don't get in Clubhouse either.
Yeah, I think that's a big deal. So and I can't wait to pick, I know you probably already thought about this, but how would you incorporate Spaces into like a live event? So how would, I know your brain's already thinking, this is what I do. How can I use Twitter? What are you thinking about doing for Twitter Spaces when you do a live event and doing your FOMO tweeting?
Well, I'm doing it already. So as I'm listening to conversations and listening to the people who are in the spaces, I'll be tweeting about it. At the moment, with Clubhouse, I listen to the people. Then there's a few steps where I need to find out who they are, if they're actually on Twitter, and then tag them, or Instagram. But on Twitter, we already know that they're on Twitter because they're there. So, so I know that when we've had some great conversations, I'll be able to share those conversations, tag those people in. If they've, on the grapevine, I heard that we will be able to name our spaces and give a topic. There's business owners who want to be known for a particular thing. So obviously, I want to be known as the FOMO creator. So I will be, launching spaces where people can learn about how to create FOMO. There'll be other people who are, experts in leadership or experts in sales or marketing, and so they'll be able to create their Twitter spaces with that title at the top, and then people will be able to search on those and get involved in those communities. And so there's definitely a lot of scope for repurposing what you've listened. As I said, you've got your transcript, you can create that into a blog post, you can tag people and tweet and really engage and get creating content for the lurkers is one of my favorite phrases.
Awesome.
That's cool. One of the, speaking of business use, one of the articles I was looking at was calling Clubhouse and Spaces 1 part podcast, 1 part industry convention, 1 part conference call. And, it's time consuming because it's happening in real time. But like, what do you see as the opportunity here for brands and businesses to incorporate Twitter Spaces into their marketing and their community building strategy?
Oh, there's a lot of scope for it. I mean, with social media, a lot of businesses, they tend to post something, maybe they'll post a LinkedIn post before an event. And then during the event has happened, they may put out a tweet. And then after the event, they'll say, oh, we've just finished up. And we really want to get a real sense of who, what that event is, what it's all about. And so I think that Twitter Spaces is the perfect opportunity for people to see the real, the raw, the right now. We talk in the social media space about repurposing content. So, if you've got a program that you're going to launch, like this show, for example, you have got this, live video show. It's going to be turned into a podcast. It's probably going to be a blog post as well. Twitter Spaces, you've got the opportunity to do all of that as well, we often hear at conferences from speakers, and they've got these incredible pieces of information, and we can showcase that by sharing it with our community. So there's a lot of scope. And as I say, you've got, just like when you're marketing any event, you've got the pre-FOMO, the live FOMO, and the post-FOMO, and people forget about that. And Twitter Spaces is the perfect opportunity for you to create that live FOMO. We can't hide behind our logos anymore. We need to showcase who we are as people so that people can get to know, like, and trust us. And you can't hide from that in audio. If the thing is live, if you're tweeting live and, sharing clip hits or sharing the transcript. So I'm really excited about it.
Awesome. So I want to bring up some comments before we come on to the next section, but kind of wrapping up, there's some great, what's the difference between, and it was a great question here. Oh, it's from iSenior. He goes, what about Twitter Voice? What is the difference between Spaces and Twitter Voice? Because that may be confusing to some people.
Yeah, great question. So you can create a tweet in the, with your voice, and it's kind of like an audiogram, whereas Twitter Spaces, so when you're doing a tweet with your Twitter Voice, it's one tweet that goes out, whereas in Spaces, it's actually as if you're in a in a meeting room with people, and so you're actually engaging and talking to more than one person. So with Twitter Voice, it's just you posting out an audio piece, but with Twitter Spaces, you're actually having a great conversation with people. It's in a space, a safe space, and people can tune in and listen. And then for those people who want to get the maximum out of the event, then they would, tweet those golden nuggets out as if they're attending a conference. So that's a different stream too.
Awesome. So I want to just kind of clarify some things about what we found out so far with, it's rolling out. I think they added like 3,000 more people to this beta test because it's still in beta, and you can have 10 people talking in the room. I think that's the max you can have right now. And like May had said earlier, you can join in one. Anybody can join in one now. You don't have to be a part of the beta. And you can see those. They'll have that little purple circle thing. So you can join in there and have a discussion. I don't know. I think only Madeline Scalar is one of the people I know who has Spaces right now. Erik's been on a couple.
Matt Navarra is another one.
Yeah.
And so you want to follow those people that have it, and you want to follow them. You want to check them out on mobile, because then you'll see that they're live. And here's the thing. Typically, these people will be tweeting out, I'm going live on Twitter Spaces at such and such a time. And then you make note of that and then go back to the mobile app at that time. And then you will see what is kind of an oval or a linking of multiple fleets up in the fleet area on the mobile device app.
So here's the couple. And also to see if you have it or not, to create, if you have it, you can create it by going into your fleets, which is still a horrible name. It sounds like the medicine you take when you have to go. And so you swipe over on your fleets over all the way. It's true. It is. It just sounds bad. Come on, Twitter. So you swipe over and you get that, and you see it over there on that, clicking on your profile. Or if you do a long press, and this is only on mobile, and it's only for iOS right now. And so you can have to hit the long press, and that way you can create start doing one of these Twitter Spaces. The other thing, and you kind of hit on it, and I want to talk about it a little bit, is that it's going to allow a transcript. And also it sounds like they also may allow downloads of like maybe the conversation, like, because it's built on the back of Periscope, which they're sunsetting, but they have all that technology, and so they built it on the back of Periscope. I think that's going to be a game changer compared to Clubhouse. I want to get Erik's take on that, and then go back to you, May. So Eric, what do you think about that? Because that's the big thing. I know it's these conversations that go away, and that's what some people really like. But as a FOMO creator and as somebody who creates content, I want to repurpose it for a blog post or something. So what are your thoughts, Eric?
Look, the thing is we've all learned from this past year or so that you can't consume everything, whether that's TV shows or live videos or podcasts, etc.
I can try.
So we can try, and we definitely try. However, my take is what does it hurt you to have it that if I missed out an hour ago, I can jump in and start from the beginning? It doesn't hurt you at all to have that possibility available. Because how many live videos are we really going back and watching the whole thing of? Like
this one, for sure.
Other than this show. This one I watch.
This show we have to do, over and over.
I watch this one as it's live.
Replay it. So May, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this? Is that something that you would want and use? That's one of the things I do not like about Clubhouse, but I love your thoughts.
No, I absolutely love it. As I say, that some people like reading, some people like audio, some people like video, and we are sad about seeing Periscope sunsetted, as you quite rightly said. And so we need to help our prospects and our lurkers and give them the information that they need in the medium that they want it, in the way that they want it. So like you say, much as we love TV or the online streaming platforms, we're also competing with all of those as well. So let's create these little bite-sized chunks and give it and drip feed them to our prospects via email or via various means, on our website, in podcast form and what have you. So as I say, the audio is not going to go away. It's a very convenient way of listening. I know a lot of marketers feel it's very involved. You really need to be present, but it's a great way. We can listen to it whilst we're cooking, whilst we're dancing, when we are allowed to go out and play, when we're driving, and when we're allowed to go on public transport again later on in the year.
Yeah, and I think that's a great idea for me to only dance when it's audio only, so nobody can see me. That would be great. But I think of also doing like live chats, doing live, almost like tweet chats, but it would be an audio version of that would be amazing. But even thinking, like if, just like, it used to be the second screen they called Twitter. Like you could sit down and be watching the premiere or the newest episode that's dropped of WandaVision and be able to talk to people. Oh, did you see that? Have it live there and talk. There's so many opportunities, I think, and it's second nature for most people. It's not invite. It won't, when it rolls out, it won't be just invite only. It'll be a part of the feature. So anyway, very exciting stuff. So I'm excited. One of the things my pal Shannon Hernandez says, and I think this is a great point. He goes, I love the latest announcements of supporter program where users can monetize their profiles. I think pairing the two will add great opportunity for those who want to build community. That's a great point. We're going to talk about some of those features here later on in the show. But right now, I wanted to bring up the next section where we'll be talking about that Twitter is auto-testing direct messages. So after introducing audio tweets last year that MAYKING broke down a little bit ago for us, and now Spaces, Twitter is continuing down this audio path with the ability to record and send audio DMs. So they're testing audio DMs in 3 regions right now: India, Japan, and Brazil, and plans to roll out in phases. So what they've said, it's really on brand for Twitter, and it's really funny that instead of using 140 characters, users share 140 seconds of audio. So how cute is that, Twitter? That's very cute. So this feature really isn't new to the market. Most other messaging apps, allow users to send each other audio messages. LinkedIn, Messenger, Instagram, WhatsApp. So once this rolls out, MAYKING, what are some interesting, fun, and things that we can do with audio DMs? What is your mind kind of going on? What would you do with them as a FOMO creator?
Do you want to add 6 or 7 figures into your business? Then join me. No, I'm kidding.
Exactly. Sound like Clubhouse right there. Yeah.
Wow.
No, I mean, I do videos on DMs already. It take a while to upload, but it really helps me to connect with people that I've been talking to publicly, and then I take them to the DMs. But yeah, I mean, I've been using voice DMs on Instagram and LinkedIn, and they're so effective. It really connects with people. People love my laugh, so it's a great way of breaking the ice and introducing myself to others. And if people, like my laugh and like the way that I talk and like the words that I speak, then all the better. But I think I feel sometimes that Twitter, is a little bit behind in some stuff, and I just wish it would, be on the forefront again, because I love Twitter, I really do. So yes, the DMs is a great place to connect even further. You've got 10,000 characters to play with on the DMs, but audio would be just one step further than the 10,000 characters. So
cool.
Yeah, they listed off a bunch of the different Jeff did here, the different platforms that have audio messages: LinkedIn, Messenger, Instagram. I mean, we were just talking a bunch of Instagram stuff earlier this week at the Social Pulse Summit from Agora Pulse. And that was one of the tips that I was giving was, hey, you can, people talk about, like we were just talking about with Clubhouse, people talk about the intimacy of audio. And why not take advantage of that in the DMs when somebody's messaging you to go back and forth with them? Have you seen any examples of brands doing creative things with audio messages?
I haven't, no. I mean, I use them, but I haven't seen that many people, any brands so far. No, I don't know. Have you seen any, Eric? Sorry, I haven't seen
not necessarily, but I think it was one of those things for a time there. Anytime anybody sent me a private message on Instagram specifically, I was, for a week or two there, I was trying to reply by holding that microphone button and recording them. Hey, thanks for reaching out, and like giving them more personal of a message than just some text. So,
yeah. Of course, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But who would love to get an audio message from you? My friends over at Ecamm. See how I segued into that just perfectly. So if you guys want to know how we're doing this awesome show here with these cool overlays, it's awesome graphics, and it's a great tool for podcasters. This is a podcast, so actually when I am done with this, it automatically downloads to my computer, and it separates the track of everybody here on the show. It's with their pro version. It's amazing. So if you'd like to find out more about my wonderful friends over at Ecamm, go to socialmedianewslive.com/Ecamm, socialmedianewslive.com/Ecamm. That's ECAMM. And I'm a little jealous about this next segment that Eric gets to do, because it's kind of the fun one. And if you haven't seen some of this, but Eric, just break it down a little bit about this this brand banter. Yeah.
As this was happening, I was just kind of like, why are people posting about something called Weetabix? I was like, what the heck is that? First off,
and, this was amazing.
It basically turned into a meltdown, and so basically so for those of us that didn't know what Weetabix was, this was first off a great immersion into what that is. It's classic wheat biscuits, and then the Weetabix people posted an image of their wheat biscuit covered in Heinz baked beans. And so there were many different reactions, some of which, for example, like Yorkshire tea, they said that unexpected combination was the equivalency of a murder, which I think probably some of the visual was there with the baked beans and, blood squirting. I don't know. Ofcom said the image was deeply offensive. And then that same week, Marmite tried to do BANTER, which I do not approve of that combination of brand and banter becoming Branter. Sorry, get off my lawn. But and so they were trying to talk. Marmite was trying to promote chili infused dynamite spread, which I still am confused as to what that is.
It just doesn't sound good at all. No.
It's just all of these things. Like, I get it. We're all trying to one up Wendy's now, right? Like Wendy's, had its cheeky,
they're still amazing,
off, snarky, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I don't care about Wendy's Twitter account. I just want the food. You know, again, I'm an old man apparently, but
Get off my lawn.
yeah, I don't know. This is crazy. But anyway, so I guess my question is, does this build any value? Does this quote BANTER ever build like long lasting brand value? Like, in other words, us social media marketers and or consumers at large, do they look at the Twitter account of Wendy's or Weetabix or those jumping in on Weetabix, you are insane, and then want to buy that product? MAYKING, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And in fact, you mentioned Matt Navarra. He actually tweeted and commented on how amazing the brands were that took part. I love it, and our social media marketers can learn from the big brands and get involved in that trending hashtag, but do it well. In fact, I was teaching some Lancashire-based businesses, that's in the north of England, about some of the smaller companies that didn't do so well. They got caught up in the debate, but then they tried to promote themselves and plug themselves. That's not how you do it. You play the game because you want to get more people to see your tweet, but get involved in the humor. So it definitely works. We know that as a brand, as a business owner, people need to see us between 7 and 30 times before they may even come and follow us or, engage with us. And so, make it a good one, a good impression. And so get involved in those hashtags and learn from the big brands. Definitely. There was, like I say, there were some great brands who did it really well, like Yorkshire Tea. And then there were some brands who didn't do it so well. But small businesses also got involved. And as long as they're not promoting themselves, you can definitely get a bit more visibility into your business.
Yeah. So this is from our friend Carrie Ray. She goes, "You crazy kids!" Chases with the broom, like, "Get off our." When we're just grumpy, Carrie. That's what it is. But say that you were like, you're a smaller or relatively unknown brand. Does it just look like you're jumping on the brand wagon for a few likes? For people who are already, that was for my friend Grace Stuffish. That's her pun. But if you just have if you're just, does it feel? How can you, I guess, use a viral opportunity to generally grow your following, expand your reach? Can smaller companies actually do that?
Absolutely, without a doubt. We know that we need to get people to understand who we are as a business, and we're all brands. We are all brands, and just like any other brand, people, we need to gain that trust from our community. People need to get to know who we are as a person. So yes, definitely inject a bit of humor, the right humor, the right personality as part of your brand. Most definitely. I was teaching this again to some other businesses. Getting involved in the right hashtags is really important. I remember seeing International Men's Day, and I was going to jump on that and say, isn't every day International Men's Day? But then when I realized that it was actually a hashtag to raise awareness about male suicide and mental health, then that probably wouldn't have been good for my brand. So, and again, with All Lives Matter, I thought, oh, actually, yeah, all lives do matter, don't they? But again, you read those tweets and you realize, no, it's I'm not part of the all right. So getting involved with the right hashtags, learning from the big brands is just one aspect of how you can get people to know who you are as a personality, as a brand. You've got to do lots of other stuff on social media, but your brand, everything, absolutely everything starts with your brand. And I actually mentioned that at my talk at the Social Pulse Summit. You need to get people to know who you are as a person, as a business, and and that doesn't come from, this is how you can get to 6 to 7 figures in your business, guys.
That's
it doesn't start from that.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you're talking about the voice of the brand, and especially on Twitter, we've got a limited amount of characters, and so when these brands are trying to pull off humor, it can potentially, people might not get the joke. In other words, do you have any approaches, or do you have any insight to approaching, humor on Twitter?
That's a great question. I mean, GIFs are amazing. GIFs, GIFs. The correct way is GIFs, right? But we all call it GIFs, we all know. They're a great way of sort of injecting a little bit of humor. And some of us who are brave enough to do so can create our own GIFs. But that's a great way of a business or brand just to get started and listen out for those opportunities to inject a bit of personality into the brand, definitely. And, when you get involved on Twitter, liking a tweet, sharing a tweet that you've learned is, again, a good way to get started. But then we also need to distinguish ourselves from everybody else. So if there was a tweet that had 20 likes or 20 retweets, 20 shares, then how are you going to be different from everyone else? Your voice is lost in those likes and retweets. So by commenting on it, quote tweet, and using the 280 characters to express an opinion that's within your brand guidelines, that's how you can start to to stand out from everyone else.
So an interesting thing, I produced Guy Kawasaki's Remarkable People podcast, and they had a couple weeks ago, they had Jennifer Aker and Naomi Bagladonis, and they wrote a book called Humor Seriously and How Humor Works with Brands. It's an excellent book. I highly recommend it. But one of the things they mentioned in there was to always punch up. You never punch down. So if you're like the CEO of a company, you never make fun of the intern who's bringing in donuts. You always either make fun of yourself or you don't punch down. And so I think that's important. Even on Twitter, it's like you don't make fun of people down below us. You make fun of things that you see, or even like if you're a smaller brand, maybe a bigger brand like Coke or something. But that's really important, is not being mean, I think, with your humor and punching down. So I thought that was a great takeaway that I got from that book and from that podcast. So I thought that was really cool. Okay, we're going to move.
That when brands are using GIFs, it's now from this point forward known as briefs. Briefs.
Oh my goodness!
Get out of my lawn, Eric.
Yeah,
a branded GIF is a brief.
A brief. Yeah. All right, so this next piece of news is Twitter has announced a pair of, kind of some big features earlier this week. And it's the ability, and Shannon kind of touched about this earlier in the comments. He goes, the ability for users to charge their followers for access to additional content, and the ability maybe to create and join groups based on specific interests. So this payment feature is called Super Follows, which sounds like a superhero that nobody really likes, will allow Twitter users to charge followers and give them access to extra content. So this could be bonus tweets, access to a community group, subscription to a newsletter, or a badge indicating your support. In a mock-up screenshot, Twitter showed an example where a user charges $4.99 per month to receive a series of perks. And so Twitter sees it as a way to let creators and publishers get paid directly by their fans. So, MAYKING, do you think Twitter users will really pay to see some people's exclusive tweets?
That's a great question. Well, if you'd like to pay me $49 a month, I don't know. I mean, we could test it, can't we? To be honest, a lot of my content is free. If you want to know a bit more, then you send me a DM and we arrange a chat. That's the way that it normally works. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm not sure, to be honest.
Yeah, I can see Stars doing it, but I don't know about if people would pay to see my exclusive briefs. What is? No, that's not. We don't even go there.
Nobody wants to pay to see your
briefs.
briefs,
see
Jeff.
my briefs. No, I couldn't give this away. Go ahead, Eric. What was your question?
Well, I mean, I guess that to come at it from a different angle. Yeah, we've got so many different celebrities, and if they were to pay gate some of their tweets, that might be interesting. I mean, Twitter was talking about that, subscription model built around celebrities, and some of these people are definitely there are definitely people out there who would pay for exclusive access to their celebrity of choice. But my question really is, who out there would you be willing to pay to see every tweet? And I don't know if I have an immediate answer to that. Do either of you?
I could see if it was a special channel that somebody. So because I think about cameos. Like the guy from The Office I'll get a bunch of money. I think it was Kevin from The Office on Cameo, sending out special messages to people for their birthdays or whatever. Made a bunch of money. So I think there's something there. Now I would maybe pay to follow, like if I could see all of Jim Gaffigan's tweets or like Brian Regan or somebody who like funny that would be worth it, and I would support them like a Patreon. I mean, I support like Luria Petrucci's channel, you know, her YouTube, because I like her and the stuff she puts out, and I want to, you know, be a supporter because she provides me great content. So I think there might be something there. It just depends. I think the celebrities for sure, they're going to have people who'll throw money at them, but us as normal people,
opportunity for charities as well, or causes, you know, I think that would be amazing. I mean, I know an incredible lady. She has a Twitter talk every week called Abuse Talk, and she came out of a, you know, abusive relationship, and every week she has a Twitter chat to, you know, and she's got an incredible support network to help people who are going through domestic violence or coming out of it and need help. You know, it would be a great opportunity for us to be able to, you know, do a quick donation. I think that you know, for, you know, particular causes, I think there's definitely opportunity for that. I would love to see that actually, rather than pay it to a, you know, a celebrity who's already earning lots and lots, you know.
Right.
Maybe brands could do it in kind of a golden ticket kind of a way, is to, you know, in order to get the golden ticket, you've got to buy the Wonka chocolate bar. Well, in order to get the chocolate bar, you've got to pay for you got to be a super follower, and only then can you get a code to then possibly enter. Although there's probably some legalese right there that's troubling for some lawyers, but I mean, going that direction of exclusive opportunity options or possibilities to only the super followers to suddenly get, you know, almost like a higher tier of a Patreon, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. So, you know, the thing is, you know, Twitter said they're going to take a cut. And they've been hinting at this subscription feature is going to be this new source of revenue, but they didn't say what that fee is going to be. But here's the other cool thing. They have also announced a new feature called Communities, which appears to be something like Facebook groups. So people can create and join groups around specific interests, you know, like cats or plants or Erik's briefs, whatever Twitter suggests, allowing them to see more tweets focused on those topics. So what about that, Making? Do you think that would be more successful on Twitter? I mean, Facebook has done really well with groups, but, you know, so other platforms have kind of struggled with kind of doing these community features around interest.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this. Facebook, yeah, I created a Facebook group in 2010, and it grew, and it's fantastic. But it's in Facebook. Right. And I love Twitter. But, you know, potentially, actually, you know, how many tweets are indexed, we're not sure. I mean, some people say it's up to 5%. So, you know, if you want to go down the SEO route, then, you know, potentially more of your content can get onto page one of Google. And that's partly the reason why I love Twitter, because of, you know, some of my content is indexed. If people were to Google, then they'll get a great insight into, you know, the tweets that I do. And so building communities on that where we can really help and share and collaborate, I think is really powerful. Yeah, I mean, communities are so important. You know, I'm looking forward to LinkedIn, you know, rebuilding their LinkedIn communities, because they got spammy for a while, didn't they? But I'm looking forward to Twitter communities. I think it'll be great.
Yeah, just to wrap this section up, you know, there's no details on like when these are going to launch. That was all featured in a what's new portion of a presentation for analysts and investors. So this is just kind of what's on the radar. But I think it could probably happen sooner than later because it's so popular and so many people want it. So, all right, Erik, take us away with this last news section to wrap up. So
let's zip through this a little quickly here. So some other smaller updates. So Twitter is exploring new revenue models when it comes to tipping, newsletter subscriptions, and other options. So one of the ideas here is that there's a lot of stuff being considered. One of the ideas is newsletter subscriptions through Twitter, and they had just bought I forget what the name of it is, but I think it's Review. Yes.
Review.
They had bought a newsletter platform called Review. And so then we're starting to be speculation. Well, Twitter is quietly adding this newsletter link to its web app. And so some Twitter users are starting to see this and say, well, hey, I can set up a free review newsletter to reach my Twitter audience. And, it's kind of integrated and all that kind of cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Have either of you seen this yet? I haven't, but have you seen this? And if so, I mean, would this prompt you to, sign up for somebody's newsletter if you saw it integrated into their tweets, almost like Twitter card-esque, I guess?
I got excited. I get excited by Twitter a lot, don't I?
You do.
Yeah, I got excited when I saw it. The opportunities are amazing. I mean, I know, in social media, we're supposed to have our own email list and we're supposed to have our own website and, and all that kind of stuff. But, all the social media platforms are competing with one another and they want us to stay on there for as long as possible. So if we can make it easier for our Twitter followers to consume more of our content via our newsletter, then why not? Bring on the newsletter, bring on the communities, bring on the revenue models and the sponsorships. I think it's a great opportunity, definitely.
Yeah. So I think one of the things, I'm like, do we really need a newsletter? Do you think this MAYKING is something that if somebody doesn't have a newsletter, they should try on Twitter? Or do you think we've got too many newsletters already, we don't need another one?
Yeah, like I say, people do say that, your email list is everything. And I do understand that. But like I say, if Twitter, I don't have a newsletter yet. I love Twitter, so I'm going to give it a go and see what happens. So it'll be interesting. I think most people tend to want to build their email lists and communicate from them because if, the classic thing that people say is, what if all the social media platforms were to go tomorrow? Mm-hmm. Would you still be, in business? And so there's that level of, people want to protect themselves in that way. But are they really going to disappear? I don't think so. Not if they keep reinventing themselves,
Right. So before we wrap up, Haley says, I have the newsletter feature, but I've not seen anyone using it yet. And I have not either. So interesting, Haley, what your take is on that when you maybe give us a test and let us know what you think. But as we wrap up, I wanted to pull up this comment from our friend Judy Fox. She goes, great to get advice about Twitter from the one and only MAYKING. She's always on the top leaderboard for every tweet chat contest I see. Love all the Twitter excited. And then Rob, our friend Rob, is here and he goes, hey, what's up, crew? MAYKING, good to see you on the show. And Rob's going to be on our show next week. But May, I wanted to give everybody a chance to find out where they can find out more about you, your services, all the FOMO stuff you're doing, the tweet chats. What's the best spot for them to find you at?
Why, on Twitter, of course. So come and find me on Making Tea. I will be doing a spot of the old Twitter Spaces at some point. I will be launching a website, I don't know, sometime in the future. But Twitter is where you'll find me. And also on LinkedIn as well. You can find me there on Making TSANG.
Awesome. And ERIK, where can people find out about the great ERIK Fisher and your Beyond the To-Do List podcast?
Yeah, it's that simple. Go to beyondthetodolist.com or, hit me up on Twitter, ERIK with a K, the letter J, FISHER.
Yeah, so thankful for you guys being here with me today. Thanks, ERIK, for showing up. And don't forget our sponsors, the amazing eCam. You can find out more about them at socialmedianewslive.com/eCam. Thank you guys so much for helping sponsor the show. And the show is going to be next week at Thursday. So it's not on Friday. We had to move it up a day. I'm getting my second shot. I got in line and I'm going to get it on Friday right in the middle of the show. So I will be, so we're going to move the show to Thursday, March the 4th at 10 a.m. Central, 11 p.m. Eastern. As always, you can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. Thank you so much to MAYKING. Thank you so much to MAYKING for being here today. Thank you, ERIK. And thank you all of you guys in the comments and for sharing this out and calling people in. We appreciate you and we will see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.